Hi, I'm Jules. This video is compiled from some notes that I wrote for myself. Reminders based on past mistakes I've made. I'm making it a public video in case these tips might benefit anyone else too. I'll put links in the description to videos and playlists that explain or expand upon concepts that I mention in this video. First, what I mean by waking up. Technically, the whole process of spiritual development is a process of waking up, as I describe in the video, What is Spiritual Development? However, in this video, I'm mostly talking about the shifts from subtle to causal stage and beyond, because causal stage is where things really start to get wacky and all the rules change. And now, a caveat. This video is not for anyone who likes their life as is and wants to keep it that way. For the purpose of this video, I'm assuming that anyone who watches it is either close to waking up or has recently awoken, at least to causal stage, and feels, for whatever reason, a strong compulsion or desire for waking up and enlightenment and or discovering absolute truth. Enlightenment actually is the discovery of absolute truth and has nothing to do with mystical experiences. I wish that someone had explained that to me much earlier. For decades, I had no idea that I was seeking enlightenment. I didn't know that the word enlightenment referred to what I was seeking. I disambiguate these terms in the video titled Previews, Peak and Mystical Experiences, Ego Death, Awakening, and Enlightenment. Okay, so here are some rules that I've discovered are helpful for staying awake and continuing to progress toward enlightenment / absolute truth if you want to do it efficiently. Rule number 1, avoid discussing it. This includes speaking, writing, even drawing to try to communicate your experiences and insights to someone else who can speak, write, or draw back. Even if you're trying to talk to somebody who is at the same stage as you or beyond, it doesn't help. The reason why is because everything in this reality is part of this reality. In other words, part of the illusion / simulation / dream. Even the other, quote, people who are, quote, progressing, even the, quote, you of this reality. So even talking about the illusion being an illusion and your experiences outside of the illusion simply reinforces the illusion. Trying to describe the experience of waking up and or the insights gained about reality or oneself along the way kills it, turns it flat and lifeless. It turns it into dream and pulls you back asleep. Words, symbols, concepts, even images are all part of the language of the dream. This doesn't mean that you have to become a hermit and not talk to anybody, although I could see that helping. It seems to be fine to talk about other stuff, especially if while you're talking about it, you remember that it's all part of the simulation. In fact, I have found that talking within the dream to someone else who seems to be at my stage or slightly beyond can be very helpful to abate feelings of loneliness. Actually, as you progress, it will start to feel more and more like when you're talking to other people, you're really just talking to yourself. But there's nothing wrong with talking to yourself. You can do some excellent processing that way. So yeah, talking to people in general doesn't seem to be a problem. Just avoid trying to describe your experiences of waking up. The one exception that I've found to this rule is if you're engaging in an intentional spiritual autolysis practice. Whether you are writing, audio recording, video recording, drawing, computer programming, whatever, And whether you are trying to state the truth and or trying to itemize everything that is untrue and or questioning everything, there seem to be only three options for doing spiritual autolysis effectively. Option one, do it with only yourself as the intended recipient, for example, journal. Option two, do it at one or more people who aren't going to respond until you're done. For example, write a book. I'm sometimes kind of writing this edge of this one by posting YouTube videos about some of my waking up experiences and processes. No one is responding to me in real time, but I do allow people to post comments on these videos. Inner guidance has been telling me so far that this is fine for what I'm up to. Or option three, engage in a dialogue with one or more people who are also engaging in their own spiritual autolysis. For example, engage in dialectic together with the specific goal of discerning truth. It seems to me that the reason why this works is because you aren't trying to describe your experiences of waking up. Or if you are, that's not the point. Instead, you're using language, symbols, concepts, etc. as the action of waking up. When you're doing spiritual autolysis, you're on the court, not in the stands. Rule number 2, do not try to help anyone else wake up yet. You're not ready yet, and you'll just make a mess of it. Plus, it will just pull you back into the dream. Right now, you need to focus on yourself. Be selfish. It's all about doing whatever you need to do to stay awake and keep making progress. You can start helping other people wake up much later if you still have an inclination to, probably years later when you're no longer at risk of falling back asleep. The one exception that I've found to this rule is if your inner guidance tells you otherwise for a specific situation, then follow your inner guidance very closely for that specific situation. Actually, yeah, inner guidance can always countermand any of these rules. Inner guidance always takes priority. Rule number 3. If either of the first two rules are proving challenging, do some shadow work on that. And or lean into the emotions of loneliness or pride or whatever they are and use them as fodder to feed right back into the waking up process. See the shadow work and emotions playlists for help with this. Rule number 4. Spend as much time as you can exploring and hacking further into this brand new world. Whatever it is that is helping you to wake up, do more of that. Whatever it is that you're experiencing in your newly found more awake state, explore more of that and try to dive deeper into it. And remember, be selfish. You can think of it this way. There is nothing that matters more at this point than waking up and staying awake. Everything else can wait. What good can you really do for any purpose when you don't yet know the truth? You can come back to everything else later after you're fully awake, if you still want to. Or if you don't still want to, then good riddance. At least you didn't waste more time on that bullshit before realizing that it was all bullshit. Note that all of these rules can be applied to any stage of spiritual progression to excellent effect, even going from gross to subtle stage. It's just that starting with causal stage, these rules become more and more critical the farther along you get and the farther you want to go. Also, you don't have to follow any of these rules if you don't want to. I've found that following them can help with faster spiritual development, but faster spiritual development isn't always the point. Your spiritual development and how you go about it is up to you and your inner guidance.